doesn't need any introduction. You clicked on this video knowing exactly what I'm talking about. Probably the most popular fight in anime. Without a doubt. Undisputedly the best fight in Naruto. Rock Lee vs. Gaara. What made Rock Lee vs. Gaara the absolutely legendary clash that it was, and why everybody still talks about it to this day as one of the best fights in all of Naruto, all of anime, all of fiction, and what makes everyone connect to it so much. To do that, we gotta talk about the fights, the characters, and what happened before and after. So let's get into before and after. So before the fight, you get a little bit of stuff with Lee. Most of this happens earlier in the Chunin Exams, and basically what you get from Lee is he's very competitive. He wanted to fight Sasuke right away, but you also know he's an outgoing guy that will protect anyone just because he believes it's the right thing to do. As we saw when he protected Sakura with Naruto and Sasuke unconscious in the Forest of Death against the Sound Ninja, and he really got smacked around to protect them, but he still did that because he felt it was the right thing to do. And that really told us what the character behind Lee, because even though he wanted to be better than them, he still was willing to protect them because that's what he felt was the right thing to do. And on Gaara's side, when Gaara is introduced and we see him meet Sasuke and Sakura in the road with Naruto, you can tell Gaara is extremely competitive, but you can also tell that he's absolutely bona fide, unlike anything you've ever seen before, crazy, with no regard for humanity, and he really feels more like a thing than he does a person at any point. And through that, to further it, you get to see him in the Forest of Death, his equivalent, where Lee is being a good guy. You see him absolutely destroy and kill those other shinobi as he runs through the exam to hit the fastest time. He kills them all with sand coffin and is like, "Your blood does not even satisfy me," and completely negates all their attacks. And honestly, from that moment too, with the way Kankuro and Tamari were acting, you could tell that they even thought he was insane. And like I was saying, that is what really makes you confirm your hypothesis that this man is not just a boy, but an absolute creature. So the preliminary rounds of course happen after the Forest of Death, and in that of course Lee and Gaara get paired up. When the fight starts, you have to remember that not all of the other characters knew that Lee could only use taijutsu. So you're seeing the fight go on, and Sakura is like, what is he doing? Like, he has to use some jutsu because he cannot keep up with Gaara's sand. And of course, we know he's missing all these attacks, but he's getting close. And then he is the iconic and probably the most over-the-top moment of all time. When he takes off those weights and they explode and everybody's like, what just happened? And then you could see through that, they kind of correlated with the guy explaining to Sakura and crew what is going on and why Lee is only, he trains more than anybody ever and works harder than anybody ever and has the least amount of talent than anybody that's ever tried to do anything. As they're doing that, you see that Lee takes off the weights and it's getting, the fight is getting closer. He's tagging Gaara. He's not fully damaging him to a bad extent, but he's starting to peel the armor and you can tell Gaara can't keep up. And between that, you can see that correlate between talent and genius, because Gaara is clearly not like some hard worker or anything. That's not a part of his character. He can control the sand. And then while you're getting all these flashbacks with Lee bumping his head into the log, that's one of the most emotional moments in the whole series, because there's a lot of people that can talk about working hard, and working hard is obviously a good thing, but working hard and then not getting results and still getting up to do it again tomorrow is what really makes it hard. So when you see that, it's honestly a pretty inspiring moment, and you see him as this is happening, he's getting closer and closer to Gaara and he's doing more and more damage, and you can see that talent can beat hard work if you work hard enough. And what also you have to take into account and remember is the fact that Neji had fought prior to this, and you kind of know at this point that Neji is like uber talented. like just known throughout the village as one of the most talented shinobi, the most talented Hyuga. Of course, Lee is his rival, and Lee is not any of those things. So that makes the fight even more special. And then, of course, when he uses the Lotus on Gaara, you really think at that moment kind of has the fight won. But at the same time, you went into that fight thinking he didn't have a chance. And you know, thematically and story-wise, Gaara should win this fight because of all the build-up and just the nature of the character. So, of course, when you see that Gaara did survive and he used the gourd off his sand, that's when you really know, okay, wait, what is happening here? Did he just lose? And you honestly think, okay, we got Lee, he's a super cool character, he just lost, I still like him though, and it's whatever, nothing crazy happened, he basically just lost the fight, got hurt. And then you see that Lee starts opening the gates to get back to fight again, and you're like, okay, he's opened a couple, and we kind of see that Kakashi is freaking out, like, what the hell do you mean Lee knows how to use gates? Like, guy, what are you doing? And of course, we see him power up even more and more throughout it, because he really wants to prove that he wants to hang with Sasuke and Naruto. And it also relates to people, because it's just keeping up with your peers and not wanting to fall behind is, of course, what everyone wants to do. When he keeps on opening the gates and then his skin color changes, you can really feel the intensity of the fight. And also just, it was an epic display, and it was animated really well, obviously for the time too. It was an incredible fight that you could see how far he was willing to go just to prove that with hard work can achieve anything. And then of course, Gaara slips out of his shell afterwards, and Lee is basically dead at this point. And he hits him with all he has. And honestly, at that moment, I kind of did think Lee won the fight, because he was defeated, he powered up again, and it just kind of made sense. Gaara's only real power-up throughout the fight, I guess you could really say, is the sand coming off the edge of the gourd, and of course him slipping out of the shell, which are not as insane as opening the gates or using the Lotus or taking off the weights. So you kind of felt like after he used the gates that was going to be enough to get it done, because he was already sort of defeated before. And of course, we all know what happens. Gaara slips out, breaks his legs. I think he broke his arm too. And then we get that insane moment with Guy. And that, you really got to analyze that and think that Guy, not only is he jumping in and stopping Lee from basically achieving his goals, because him stepping in ends the fight, but it shows the level of trust he has that Lee has done enough, and at this point, this is not worth his life. Knowing how much it meant to Lee, probably my favorite moment of the fight is when Lee gets back up at the end, when he should not be able to stand, should not be able to move, and just seeing him still in that iconic fighting stance, one of the most iconic stances in all of anime. And of course, that's the moment you at that point you have to love Lee. He's still willing to fight even though he literally would have died, and at that point, you still thought he might still die regardless of if the fight ended or not. And just the context of that too, within the story of Naruto, that being a bigger moment than Naruto had up to that point, or Sasuke had to that point, or Kakashi really. That was the biggest moment in the whole show, was given to a side character. And whether you want to debate what happened to him in Shippuden, that's another discussion. But just knowing the context of it at the time and remembering where you were when you watched it for the first time or read it for the first time just changes your whole nostalgia factor, as well as the fact that thematically, story-wise, fight-wise, it's really good. So I really think too, I was said this before, I believe it was for one of my One Piece videos, when it comes to stuff like this, I don't go back and read it or go back and watch it. Obviously, when I'm editing, I pull clips and the panels. I think there's something special in just recalling your raw emotions from what you remembered of the fight and how you feel about it now. Because if you go back and reread it, you're going to look back on it super analytically, and you're going to remember all these details, and you're going to claim that you remembered them the whole time. But this was my perception of the fight after, I don't know when the last time I watched it was. Obviously, we've all seen the clips, but it was an amazing fight and an amazing, amazing memory to have that I think is still one of my top 5 moments in anything I've watched. Anime, live action, anything. So, let me know what you guys think down below. Let me know what you thought of the fight when you watched it the first time. Let me know your favorite moment in anime, and that's all I have for you today. We're just getting started. We're going to stay consistent, and I will see you in the next video.